Hey boys and girls, I'm going to make a haunted house inspired by the author, illustrator, and kind of cartoonist and maker of books of how to draw, Ed Emberley, who is one of my favorites, and I don't think anyone does a better haunted house than he does. So it's not exactly one of his, but it's most definitely inspired by him. So I'm gonna start here by making a really long rectangle. Really big, long rectangle. This is gonna be a big haunted house, a lot of steps. So I've got this started. The one thing I like that he does is he adds these kind of like extra sections so that if you ever wanted to color this whole thing in kind of black and make it very silhouetted, you have sort of like bones of a house, which I think is pretty cool. So I've got this, and then I'm gonna draw another section, like the second floor here. And I'm going to do the same thing with this section. Once you have your box made, I'm going to add another little section or a little bit of the outside edge of those. And then I'm going to make a line right in the middle that kind of goes, that's kind of centered in the middle of that right there. And I'm going to, again, make my top here. And then I'm going to make kind of a curve down, and connect there for a top to my building there. And then this section, I'm going to go kind of way out and kind of do the same thing where I'm going to do kind of a curve and down like that. So now I've got some cool spaces for my haunted house. I might even make another one over here, and kind of in his style, I think I'm going to kind of make another little flat roof line and then do another kind of curve that comes out, down, might make it deeper. And then I've got kind of a little section, and maybe it's further back. If it's further back, like it's kind of in the middle of that section, then it would probably stop a little early, like that. And I'll get to the bottom of this in a little bit. And now I'm ready to just do some doors and windows, which is really important in this because part 2 of this drawing is going to be a lot of his cool creatures. So the first thing I'm going to do is draw my front door. I'm going to kind of center it through here. So I'm going to draw a pretty large door, and I'm going to do my triangle on top here. And then I'm going to draw some windows, and I'm going to start by drawing a pretty large window here. And let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4. I think I'm going to do 4 windows here. 1, 2, oh, maybe I'm not going to have room. I might. 3, just enough room. And he really does that same kind of thing where he does that little edge. And I think what I'm going to do on this is I'm just going to do it on the inside. I'm going to make a line here and here, here and here on all of my windows. And later I can draw some kind of fun creatures in these windows. So I'm going to kind of leave some of them a little bit plain. Then he adds details which make it look really more finished. So I'm going to add a triangle top as a decorative element to my house, kind of giving it a little bit of a Victorian kind of look. Triangles on all of those. And actually, I haven't started on my windows up here. I think I'm going to kind of do one large window kind of in the center. And I'm going to do kind of a, oh well, I'm going to do kind of something like that. I meant to do it, but I didn't really have the space, so I'm just going to kind of black that in, I think. And then I'm going to do a couple small windows over on the sides here. So, little mistake, but you know what? Sometimes that's what happens when you're drawing. And then I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to make a triangle top here, a triangle top here, and a short triangle top there. And then another thing that he does a lot is he kind of re-outlines the little triangle. The more lines you add to this, the more interesting it looks. And it looks like it's more finished. Anytime you really pay attention to the little details, because I could leave this alone and not add any extra lines, but it really makes a difference. And he often does this little curve right here too. That's totally an Ed Emberley haunted house detail. Like that. For the door, I didn't add my extra line. I'm gonna add an extra line here for my door. Then let's see, for this section here, I'm gonna do another window. And I've considered all these windows, like houses have lots of windows. You wanna have natural light. But in our haunted house, it's gonna allow us to have more creepy people, kind of silly characters here in a little bit. And I might add, sometimes he adds kind of like, it looks like broken shutters. Maybe one's kind of close like it's supposed to. This is really the only section that has room for shutters. Maybe I'll try to do this one like it's supposed to look. I barely have room for this one. And then maybe over here, this one will look kind of like it's fallen. Maybe we've even lost part of the side of it. Like that. And that's it. Maybe I'll leave that. For a little couple extra details to my windows, let's see, I'm gonna also add a little like window sill area. Is you could decide that some of these windows are kind of open. Maybe I'm gonna kind of just do like they're partially open. And maybe I'll even do one where it's like a shade and you just see a little dangle. But anything in the windows, that does definitely help. And maybe this is like, this one's broken, but that would still kind of dangle straight. And then I think I will do kind of like those things that kind of separate the windows a little bit. So that looks pretty good. I think I'm gonna add one more window over here. It would probably look a little bit smaller if it's a little bit further back, and it'd probably be a little higher and a little shorter than the others. So that will help give the illusion of space if it's back there a little bit. Do that. And then kind of want to decorate a little bit more up here. Like up here, I could do some type of like big circle window, like it's in an attic, you know, something up there. A lot of times he will add kind of a fun, like a wind, or a wind direction kind of thing. What do you call those? I never can remember the name of those. But I saw one that he's done where he does like a little skull, and when he does skulls, he does like the eyes first, puts the eyes in, and then he makes the skulls kind of like they're black instead of white, because you're drawing it with a marker, which is kind of fun. And then he does like a little mouth like that, kind of a little silly skull. And then I saw where he did like bones, kind of try to do like a little bone as a decoration, which is kind of creepy for Halloween. Kind of like that. That's kind of fun. And then let's see, this window here too, maybe I'll do this one like this one's kind of broken. Like that. And I might do like a mini kind of chimney here, and maybe I'll have something sticking out of my chimney later. Make this look brick-like. You make your lines for each row every other, like brick sleigh. So I'll save something extra for there too. And then sometimes he just adds these cute little, it reminds me of like wrought iron little decorations. It's kind of, or like little features like a house might have on all corners of some kind. So that looks pretty good so far. The other thing that I really like is that he adds kind of a decorative detail here a lot of times, where he'll do curves, maybe a triangle, curves, a triangle, a triangle, a triangle, curves. Like there's no rhyme or reason. He just does kind of a random pattern sometimes, which can be kind of fun. Like, it doesn't have to be like symmetrical in that you have a pattern that makes sense. And that just is another, like I said before, the more you add to this, the more interesting it becomes. And if you do decide to silhouette this is something that you can leave color, or like maybe even do it with a color or something, or you just don't color it in black. You kind of leave that as a decorative element so it stands out. The other thing is, I didn't mention it, I'm just realizing I started on a light purple paper, because sometimes it's nice to work on a color instead of having to, then if I did it on white, I'd feel like I had to color the whole thing, but this way I really don't have to. Okay, so my door, I'm leaving my door open because it's going to be kind of like I can have some creepy things looking out at some phase. But right now my house is floating. And I do think it's important to draw the house first in this case. You want to get it all down. And now I'm going to add a basement. But the one thing I always like that he does is he kind of makes steps coming out. And those are pretty easy. You just make rectangles that are stacked together like books, kind of like that. And then he draws, like kind of at the end of that, he makes kind of a basement line. Now my basement here is going to stop there. But imagine my basement over here is going to go to right here. It's probably about the same thickness, but it's not necessarily going to line up here the same because it's a little further back. Then I'm going to draw my line all the way over here again. And then I always love how he makes basement windows, which everybody has. And in those basement windows, and this might have two smaller basement windows, again, to make it feel like it's further back, he might draw some eyes. And then you black this in. All you see is the like creepy little eyes. You don't know if it's a monster, you don't know if it's an animal, you have no idea. It's kind of silly. But I love to do that, and it's fun to have them like in practically every window. So I'll color those in later. But it's just kind of silly to have just a couple sets of eyes looking out at you. And if you want to start with pencil instead and then outline with Sharpie, you can always do that. I always like to just draw with Sharpie. Even if I make mistakes, I just kind of roll with it. But then, because a lot of times when you draw with pencil, you end up drawing really small details that are hard to trace with any kind of marker, anything thicker. And I might make another line in between. It's always good to have 3 rows of bricks if you can. And then you can put your extra kind of row in there in between. Helps give the illusion when you have 3 rows at least of bricks. And they don't have to be perfect. All right, so now that I have that down and you feel a little bit more of the of that it's settled into a ground, you can kind of do a bit of a ground line, and I might make it kind of curve like it's on a little bit of a hill. Sometimes he does some little bits of grass, like, and I didn't really leave myself any room for anything else. Like if I had made this much smaller and I had all this land, I could do a creepy tree or something like that. But as for now, like that is about all I'm going to do. And then I'm going to color this mostly black. I'm going to leave some things light, but on the when I start the next one for drawing some fun creepy things in the windows, it'll start with it being black. So you don't need to watch me do that, but can't wait to see what you draw.